Welcome to another episode of my host, Joe Chap, and today we'll be talking about the Detroit Lions. A lot of people are missing the point, guys. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Subscribe below. We're going to have great Lions content. But a lot of people are missing the point. I read an article today from Peter King, and he said that, the Detroit Lions are going to miss Jamal Williams. And I somewhat agree with that in premise because he is good in the locker room. He is good character-wise. But here's the difference. A lot of people, especially in the national media, I think that they are so ridiculous with their takes and so uneducated about their takes that they just make stupid assumptions. But I felt like that Peter King was totally missing the mark on who was to talk about with the Detroit Lions rushing game. Now, this is a stat from Fantasy Data Pros, and it comes from my site, Detroit Lions News. Top 5 running backs in TD rate percentage. Jamal Williams was number 1 with 6.5. Austin Ekeler 6.4. He was second. Cordero Patterson 5.6. He was third. Ezekiel Elliott 5.2. Fourth. And DeAndre Swift was fifth with 5.1% TD rate. What do you make from that? What do you make from that? 2 Lions in the top 5 of rushing in the TD rate. And people are going to say that the Detroit Lions are going to miss Jamal Williams and they are going to miss DeAndre Swift. Here's the issue. The issue at hand is people don't understand the talent that's on the Lions offensive line. The most underrated player on the Lions offensive line is Jonah Jackson. Absolutely, without a doubt, is Jonah Jackson. He is a mauler, he is a great player, and he gets to push upfield, and he gets a push from the guard spot. Taylor Decker next to him is a really good tandem next to him. Penei Sewell is anchoring the right side, doing a great job, especially with the rotation of guards that he has had at the right guard spot. And then you look at Frank Ragnow. He was ranked appropriately in the ESPN positional rankings, where I think they ranked him 8th. I think he's a little bit better than that, but Frank Ragnow is your centerpiece to your offensive line. He sets the tone, and usually your centers are the big part of your offensive line. You look at the best teams in the NFL, they usually have pretty good centers. And when you look at the Detroit Lions offensive line, and you look at the injuries that they've had, you go, okay, they've been able to replace players when they got injured. They've been able to replace players game by game. And that's true because the most underrated person in this Detroit Lions organization is hands down Hank Fraley. Hank Fraley, whenever this team needs an offensive lineman to step up, they needed Coyote Oshika to step up against Buffalo. Now, Buffalo was a Super Bowl. They were a Super Bowl contending team. And they went in there and they threw punches and they barely lost. They still lost. But they were throwing punches. Their offensive line was getting a good push, and they still scored. That tells you everything you need to know about the Detroit Lions offensive line and the way that they are coached. They are coached with an aggressive output to play the run pretty well, get your push up front, and make sure you get what you can get. And to be honest, I felt like Jamal Williams, I felt like DeAndre Swift, they left a little bit of meat on the bone. And Ben Johnson said the same thing in a press conference where he said, I think they're leaving a little meat on the bone when we're talking about the rushing game. And when you got David Montgomery, who is, I think it was the most missed tackles percentage or whatever, he was one of the top guys in the NFL at missed tackle percentage. You get Jahmyr Gibbs, who can be a threat running the ball and in the catching the ball, and that's what makes this team deadly. But the people need to realize that the most important part of this Detroit Lions team is hands down, without a doubt, the offensive line. And the most rated coach in this organization is Hank Fraley. Hank Fraley is absolutely a legend, and he has proved everyone who, if you talk about Hank Fraley, he has proved that this offensive line is an elite established unit. And they are going to take the Detroit Lions farther than the Detroit Lions have ever been before because they have a great coach and they have a great mindset and a great game plan. And that's why the Detroit Lions won't miss Jamal Williams or DeAndre Swift, because the whole part of this rushing offense centers around your 5 offensive linemen plus your tight ends. And that's what makes the Detroit Lions a pretty good team and an elite offense to boot. You know, this is one of the most elite offenses. I read something today where the Detroit Lions were the lowest percentage in 3-and-outs. That tells you everything you need to know about the Detroit Lions offense. And they did get better with the signing of David Montgomery, with the draft of Jahmyr Gibbs. They did get better. I want to know what you think about it below. Let me know below in the comments and tell me, am I wrong or am I right on that subject, that the Detroit Lions are better on offense with the rushing game than they were last year with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. Am I off base, or is Peter King right? Just let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.